Good morning. So here we are, Diamond Mothers, with an exciting interview talking about body image this morning and teenagers. I'm Lisa Jane, and I have with me the beautiful Carolyn Murphy-Bennis, conscious designer from Ireland. And Carolyn, I will let you introduce our other guest.
Hi, everyone. Fantastic to have you all here joining us on this Diamond Mother Ring. And we have a beautiful diamond, shining, dazzling diamond from the US to join us, Dr. Erin Oksol. And she's a psychologist, she's a business coach, and she's also a health coach. And she has a business with her daughter as well. We're really excited to hear about. And we're here to kind of talk about, explore women's, relationship with their body and how that evolves through their lives, and how that can kind of, start to educate the younger generation as well. So, welcome, Erin. So delighted that you came here to have a little talk with us. So it'd be lovely to just get people just introduce yourself and say hello. And
hi everyone, great to see you. Let's explore this very easy topic of self-image in teenage girls.
We laugh now, right? We laugh now, but really we're not laughing, right?
Yeah. It's a big challenge, isn't it, for everybody, Instagram age. And, we had it bad when we were young, when we were teenagers. I'm 47, and I would say the relationship I had with my body has changed so much over the years. And I'm probably happier. I'm probably larger than I've ever been, but I'm happier than I've ever been since I was a teenager, that kind of way. It was just constantly that, negative body image. So it's amazing, what society can pressures they put on women.
And I think it is, and for women especially, like it seems to be this thing that disempowers them almost all of their life. Like if you don't learn how to deal with that, and if you don't come to some sort of acceptance and befriend it, you hear it everywhere, don't you? And I myself, it's the same. It's such a long journey, and it's so disempowering. And there's just a point that you get to, just go, I just don't want to be feeling this anymore. I don't want to feel this disempowerment about myself anymore. I just want to be at ease. So, and it all starts when someone, for me, it was the first time this older woman said to me, pull your belly in. And I was about 6, and that was the first time I became aware of my body.
Wow.
That's how impactful one statement from an older woman can be.
Wow. Yeah. It starts that little seed of doubt, and you start to become self-conscious then, don't you? Yeah. We already have somebody watching. Adam, say hello. Hi, Adam. Good to have people involved in the conversation. Yeah. How about yourself, Erin? What was your kind of,
oh my goodness,
first experience, I suppose, with that kind of a comment, maybe,
I have still not figured it out. So you might have a lot of Q's, and I don't know if I got a lot of A's. I just know a lot about a lot of things, but I haven't figured it out for myself. I grew up for a variety of reasons as a perfectionist, and that showed up in my relationship with my body and my food. And I actually became a bulimic, and I successfully treated that, thank God. But I cannot tell you, I would say half of my thoughts every day are still about this dang body that I have. And I think I look great. I dig it. And it's maddening to me because I could use that space in my mental bandwidth for so many other things. And I just think, my mission is to help people break up with dieting, but we're swimming in a culture in the world where they make a lot of money off of us when we are dissatisfied. And I remember when I had my first baby, we have three children, 19, 16, and 10. But I remember when I had my first child, I promised myself in the bed, in the hospital, I will never, it was such a magical experience. I said, I will never betray you again. I will never talk mean to you again. I will never forget this feeling. And it, probably lasted 12 days.
No.
But I was like, oh, that's what this thing is for. And and so it's just a constant battle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because, and like, I look at you, Erin, and Carol, and what I see is beauty, you know, and even when I look at myself, I go, there's no reason, and I suppose I did this about 6 months ago. I looked at myself, there's no reason that I should have these thoughts. Like, there was no reality to them. And it was like, the body is fine, the food is fine, exercise is fine. There's no reality. I'm just going to start dropping those thoughts, you know. And for me, the just dropping them all the time, and because it's the reality of them, I think, that can get to people. It's we feel that they're real. And for me, it was this like insight that, and it's been a very gradual journey for me over time, but it was this point where I just got to, you know what, this is actually not real. And so for me, the discipline was, each time a thought came, just drop it, because it's not real. Just drop it, just hand it over, just let it go.
Absolutely.
You know, but I think it's this, and what you're saying is right, what we see all the time in our culture, and the way that we've been taught to validate ourselves, especially now, we've validated, especially women, for the way that we look. And that is so much pressure. And my 15-year-old daughter is like, Mum, I hate what I wear. I don't look good in it. But then I look at all the models of these clothes that I want to buy, and they're all skinny. And I know that if I get them and I put them on, I'm going to look shit in them. And I'm like, totally get that. Now, some people are starting to introduce normal size bodies to actually model their clothes. Yay! Yeah. But most people aren't, you know, and all the time. And so her dilemma is like, I really want to buy some new clothes, but I can't, because I have this. Even just buying the clothes is creating this dilemma. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is not freedom.
Wow. Yeah, freedom. That's so important. I was interviewing my 16-year-old daughter last night at the kitchen table, telling her I was going on a podcast to talk about body image issues for teenagers. And she goes, oh, I would not talk about that if I were you. And I said, what are you doing? She's like, that is a very controversial topic, Mom, and you could upset a lot of people either way, you know. And you're like, you're so right about that. And so I was asking her, you know, she's swimming in the land of social media that we didn't have to swim in. And and I was asking her, like, how does it actually show up? And she said, someone will post a picture, and then it's not that they're saying you're ugly, but instead they'll say, oh, I want a nose job now. And so it's this constant like, oh, wow, oh, now I want this and I want that. And there's like this never enoughness. And then she also said, on the other end of the spectrum, and this is where it could get a little controversial, but the whole body positivity movement, while I get it, I do not sign up for, if you are addicted to food, celebrating that. And if you are morbidly obese, you might be morbidly obese because you have inflammation issues or a medical problem. But if you are not in that category and you are eating and have a relationship with food that is addictive, I just know that there's very little happiness behind that. And so it's this quandary of, I also don't want to put that up on a pedestal and say, let's celebrate addiction, because that is addiction. We are the most overfed, undernourished, most informed population that's never been sicker. And so I don't know if we're kind of hitting the target there either. I said it. Yeah. She's like, don't talk about that. I'm like, I got to talk about it.
Yeah, it's the psychology of it is what you're saying, Erin. You know,
if you're eating in a way where you are out of control,
it's
that, you know, is what I'm interested in. I want to teach people not to abandon themselves. I want to teach people to stay with themselves, like Lisa is saying, to recognize that voice. I don't need to listen to that voice. That voice, I don't need to be, it doesn't have to be believable. And there's psychological techniques where you can practice over and over. And yes, I hear that voice all day. And I don't give it any credence, but it hasn't fully gone away. And I don't know if this side of heaven, if it ever will go away, but that's okay, because it doesn't impact me. It's like I have a force field around it almost, but it's still there.
Yeah. Yeah. You have space around it, you know, that you can actually hear it. That is, you know, the way, like what we talked about, actually, the Mental Health Warriors podcast, like an echo. You know, that it's just something that's there all the time that kind of comes in and it'll make a kind of a comment. And it's like somebody in the background kind of booing you or something like that, you know. But it's not until you start to realize that is a heckler, you know, that kind of way in the background all the time. Because
Totally.
actually the way I it's amazing actually trying to get that distance from your thoughts is a real process. First of all, to realize the awareness is number one key, that actually those thoughts aren't your own. There's an echo from the past, or from somebody who said it, or something in the media, or something in the branding of products, or something that's in the culture, that it's being fed into your consciousness, you know, into your subconscious. So it's like that's the real kind of, I think, awakening, is to start to realize that this is just a voice that's not your own voice. That's actually just an echo that's from an unconscious culture. And when we start to become aware of that, we can create this kind of field around it, like the force field, like you said, of the kind of space. So now, you know, like that, I would hear, I think it's gotten fainter. The echo has gotten fainter, definitely. But the way I actually deconstructed it for myself, I was just thinking about it, was I started to see the beauty, and like I started to look at other women and see them, wonder like, why is it I see them so beautifully? I think I'd look at a woman, and if she was heavier or if she was thin or whatever, I just think she was so unbelievably beautiful. And then I'd question, why can't you see that beauty in yourself? Why can't you see yourself as being beautiful? Because I just didn't for years and years and years. You know, even though you get loads of compliments and everything, I didn't believe what people were saying to me. You know, I'd never believe a compliment. You know, I could never, because it was obviously there was internal kind of loathing. There was something really deep that I just couldn't connect. That wasn't going in, no matter what anybody would say to me from the outside. I had to do the work within to really uncover that in myself, to create that force field of awareness around it. Then to kind of start to see that, okay, that woman is the same kind of as my shape. She is so beautiful. So therefore, you must be beautiful too. And look at you, you know, and just to start to kind of, and then start acceptance and self-acceptance of, you know, just accepting yourself the way you are, and then just loving yourself as you are. And just then, I suppose, then that kind of heart-centered kind of feeling started coming in, where I got that really warmth in my heart. And I just used to, now I just, that's my seat now. I always at home here, you know, and it's that beautiful warm feeling. That's just that gorgeous kind of, it's just my center, you know. And that, like the yellow, the gold that we have around us, like it's just that gorgeous gold warmth in here. And it doesn't really matter now what's on the outside, or what people say, or what comes in, because I have that force field around me, you know. So it's doable.
I think you're right too. I was going to say that, because what I feel sometimes we do in our culture is we're looking outwards at all the problems and all the things that are wrong or that need to be changed. But I feel that it all comes back to me, actually. It's more about not what I'm doing, but who I'm being.
Yeah.
And that, if I can find who I'm being right now in this moment, then that sort of, everything else seems to fall into place, like the, you know, what I'm eating, or how I'm exercising, or, you know, like, and there's this total comfort of, you know, like if I get up one day and I don't, because I love to exercise, but if I get up one day and I don't feel like exercising, I used to be like, oh my God, I can't miss a day at the gym. Oh my God. And I would just, all day, it would impact my mind. And I would be like, I have to exercise, otherwise my mind is not right. Now, and I do believe there's some truth in that, because my mind definitely was much righter when I exercised.
Yeah. But you need that balance. You need balance.
You do.
That,
but right
you know?
now, you also the honoring of who I am, and this moment of, you know, right now, actually, I really need to not do anything today, and being okay with that. But that's when you're in this space inside, when you're so comfortable in yourself, and you start to see, like you're saying, Carolyn, you look at yourself and you see the beauty, and it's not because of the way you look or even what you bought. You just see this beauty, and that beauty you're seeing in other people, and it really is. For me, that being able to sit in that space, even when I'm talking to my daughter, and understand where she's gone through, because it is all about her perception. Like what I see is her beauty, what she sees is not beauty, you know, like very interesting.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And I think also, you know, that's why I kind of started the words as medicine, because the words and the way you speak to yourself kind of paints that picture, you know. And also to your daughter, like I tried to deconstruct and got really, really conscious about my language, what I say, and what I say
Absolutely.
to my daughter and how I speak to her. But first, before I did that, I had to become very conscious of how I spoke to myself and how culture and actually given me an unconscious way of communicating that wasn't true to myself. It wasn't honoring myself, my own sovereignty, and it wasn't honoring other women. So I just stopped speaking for a while until I kind of started to kind of become really conscious of what I was saying, and not PC. I'm not talking about that, but just what is a picture that I'm painting in my own mind about myself, the relationship with myself, and then the same picture then, because as mothers, we're always painting a picture in our children's mind about themselves. So what the words we use to them creates this picture in their subconscious, you know. And as a psychologist, Erin, I'm sure you would know the ins and outs of that in far more detail than me, but because I'm an artist, I always think of it like that.
My kids like to joke with me and say, does everything have to be a life lesson? I'm like, yeah, when you live with me, it does. You know, it totally does.
Yes. I can say the same.
Right? Like,
yeah.
oh yeah,
Lauren's the same.
actually.
Yeah, Lauren's is the same. Here we go. Inside generation. Oh my God.
It's like I could teach people like you. I know it so well, Mum. Like, you may as well just step off. You know, I know it all, and I'm just like, well, then why?
I would love your ladies' thoughts on this. You know, I've had a lot of discussions. They're just objectively gorgeous human beings, my daughters. They just are. They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
And throughout their life, of course, I've said, you're gorgeous, you're beautiful. And I've talked to them about how you're kind of screwed if you say it and screwed if you don't say it as a mom. And, you know, like, and I know you have a great mind in there too, but you look really gorgeous today. And you're just constantly on this minefield of like, am I messing this up? And I think that discussion of like the 3,000 feet above discussion about it has probably helped them more than anything, because they know the thought process I'm going through when we talk about it like that. The oldest daughter, Grace, her whole life, she like just stopped traffic at the store. Like, she's just gorgeous. She has these lips that are like Kim Kardashian, and she said she was kind of prejudiced against, what's the word? She would never get called on in school because the teachers thought she was kind of the dumb one. And she goes, stop telling me I'm beautiful. Ask me what's up here. And because she was brilliant. And so now when I say like, you're gorgeous, she's like, I know, I've heard it my whole life. Like, it doesn't. And she built her confidence through that. It's very interesting. We went around the table one night and asked, what do you love best about yourself? Because that's what you do when your daughter's of therapists, and I don't know. And she goes, I'll never forget. It was my proudest moment. She said, put me in any environment and I will thrive.
Wow.
I was like, excuse me? I'm like, my favorite thing about myself is that I have a daughter that said that, right? Like, oh my God. But I just think it's not so much as mothers like figuring out the exact right thing to say. It's, I don't know, humaning with them. I don't know. It's talking about like, yeah, I do always say I'm going to start on Monday and I shouldn't say that. And like, just being real, I think has given my kids a lot of resiliency. Like, they'll say, Mom, I thought you weren't going to eat, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I know. I thought I said that too. I mean, what, can you just be real? You know, I don't know. I just think that's probably helped them more than anything. I would love your thoughts on just that.
I definitely think that the emerging process, like being in the emerging process with them, like what you're saying is so true. It's like not having to have the right words, not having to fix it all, not having to create this perfect human being right here, right now in this moment, because it's not about that. It's about enjoying this shared journey and allowing the process to unfold. Because, you know, like you were saying, Erin, you know, the girls, no matter how much they know, and probably all our daughters are very aware of that bigger perspective, what's happening, and that what they're thinking is not true. They're probably very aware of that, but they still get sucked into it. And we may not be able to fight that, but we absolutely can come into this process and relax in the process. It's okay. This is the process of them growing up. they have to go through this journey, and really it's until they decide to let go of those thoughts that they're going to completely leave them. And as a mum, we just need to be in the journey with them, just keep being there and accepting them and validating them. And like you said, Erin, having those conversations and being real and showing them that we're not perfect, that we're in a process too, always this emerging process, you know. And for me, that is what's given me power in parenting in this culture, is just always reminding myself, I don't have to fix it. I don't have to control it. I don't have to have the solutions. I just have to be here right now, emotionally present with my daughter, and be in the process of her growing up.
I mean, right there. It's so powerful. It's so beautiful. I mean, we became such a fix-it culture as mothers that our job was to remove all suffering from our children, and it's messed up all of us in the process. It's like,
yes.
It's like, what?
The pressure.
Like,
yeah.
So let's just, stop that martyrdom of motherhood. Like, let's stop that and just say, oh, you too? Oh, me too. Oh, yeah, me too.
We're in this process, and it's freedom, right? That's freedom. If you can sit there and say, I feel completely powerless. Like, and I've said that to my daughter, when you share things like this with me, it makes me feel completely powerless, and I'll feel it for a minute, and I'll be like, yeah, hey, I'm feeling powerlessness, you know, this is like, and then I'm like, but actually I can step out of that and understand that this is an opportunity to be in a process with her. And so my acknowledgement of it and my speaking of it, I can come back into the presence with her, and then we can keep talking and we can keep the flow going, this process going. And it may not be a solution right now, but it definitely takes me to a solution.
And what's being modeled there psychologically, of course, is, oh, my mom is self-regulating. She's emotionally regulating. She's not abandoning herself. She's not numbing. She's not self-inflicting, destructive behaviors on herself. Maybe I could learn how to do that too.
Exactly. Yeah, you're teaching the tools, aren't you?
I just think I've suffered so well that my children just turned out great. No, I really do. I think suffering is my secret sauce.
But I completely think that it's the perfectionism that we talked about as well. Like, mothers thinking they have to be perfect in every way, and realizing actually, that they're just kind of in denial, that they're, it's just running away from themselves, isn't it? Just self-acceptance, and realize that we're not perfect. Hello, we're not. It's just, and just that we're learning as they're learning, and it's just like that, like the emergence process, as you say, Lisa. Like, it's just, that's the key, because I think as well, like that. Really, when it comes to having, I think with Lauren has just been such a gift to me, because I think she uncovered so much that I couldn't see in myself. The relationship that I've had with her has just been, I remember when she was born, I said, I'm after, sorry now, I don't care about money anymore, because I have won the lottery, because she was just such a connection with her. I just loved her from the day I saw her, and I just thought to myself, and I the process of being her mother has been really why I'm sitting here today, because she's just been an absolute kind of a truth teller, completely. She's called me out in so many different things, on everything. She continues to call me out on everything that isn't true to me, and she challenges me all the time. And I think she's been the best kind of teacher, really, so I think, there's so much in that relationship for the mom, not trying to do and, teach the daughter, but like the daughter can reveal and unbox the mom,
Wow, that tells me that you must have been a safe place for her to land with that feedback too. So that's beautiful, Caroline, on your part.
Yeah, well, I think I recognized it actually, Erin, because there was one point where there was a very distinctive point. I think she was around 8. And I remember thinking to myself, I knew she was very intuitive, and I could see that it was like as if she was reading my mind. I could see, because I'd have a thought, and then she'd respond to what I was thinking nearly, that kind of way. And I really realized it was kind of an energetic thing that was going on. I didn't understand. Now, I was never into spirituality, and I didn't know anything about energy thing. I absolutely had no idea. I was in the branding corporate world. I had no idea about anything like that. But I just always had, I suppose, a kind of intuitiveness, So So it was kind of like she kind of can read my mind or something. Like there's something coming across between us there that she's understanding without I'm saying it. She knows what's in my head. And then I realized that what was in my head wasn't so good. It was pretty horrible. Some of the stuff was kind of cross, and there was a lot of anger and kind of me, perfectionism, wanting her to do things because I wanted to be a certain way to make me feel good, because it's up to my standards, or I had to be, you know, the room had to be, whatever had to be perfect, because that was my safety. If everything was perfect, I'm safe, that kind of way. And it was just, then I realized that she was suffering from that. And I just thought to myself, Karen, you're going to have to do your work inside, because if she is actually be suffering from my unconsciousness, then I'm damaging her. I'm actually damaging her, because that's not good, so I'm going to have to clean up my act inside. And then I'm going to have to talk to her, speak to her with absolute unconditional love. And no matter what, big emotions she has is a sign that I can't deal with my own emotions, and I'm disconnected from my emotions, and that I have not been in touch with my own emotions the way I should, because I'm obviously reacting this way to her emotions. I'm such triggered around, I just didn't know how to deal with her emotions, because I didn't know how to deal with my own emotions.
Yeah.
So it started there, and I started to I took ownership of that when I saw it, and I apologized to her.
I was just going to say that. Yes.
Yeah. I apologized to her. I said, and not that I was being the super mom, you know what I mean? I was being the Stepford wife super mom, like the mom. I was being what I thought I was doing the best job I could ever do, you know what I mean? But in truth, I wasn't really connected to myself. So therefore I wasn't really authentically connected to her in that way that I should have been, So there was a bit of work going back into my past, into my, seeing where that turned up and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of redesigned the relationship from the inside out, and became conscious of my language and everything that I said, and, kind of promised her, that I wouldn't ever, and to myself, that I would never kind of do that again once I had became aware of it, And then it was amazing, because I often tell this story that she used to have asthma. And that day when I apologized to her, she said, "No, I don't need my inhaler anymore." She started to breathe, and she never took her inhaler anymore. So
Wow.
like it was like as if it was a constriction.
She could exhale. Wow.
And she just blossomed since then. She's just really come. Like it's amazing the stuff that, obviously, like lots of things happen like in every family, but like that, I whatever comes, whatever storms come, I just let it happen. And I just sit with it, and I just let the emotions come up, like, and just let them have their space, have their time, and then they come and go, like it just come and, might be cross for a day or so, and then they'll just go. They're like like a storm in the sea.
If I can, if I would have been the woman listening to us, maybe even 6 years ago, I would have been like, okay, that sounds really great. I'm glad you can be all Zen, Caroline, but there must be something wrong with me. And so I just want the viewers to know that what it looks like now is like, Mom's got to go because she's freaking out. So she's going to go on a walk, and I'll be right back. Okay. Because I got to go. And I mean, I'm not necessarily Zen, but I'm modeling. I'm like, I got to get out of this house right now. I'm going to go get a latte, and I'll be right back. Bye. Or I'm really sorry. I literally went from 0 to 100. I couldn't really control it. And what we have because of that is great bounce back ability.
Yeah.
So we can go pretty high in our emotions in our family, but then we're just like back. And if you looked at it and didn't know that this was actually bounce back ability, which is resilience, you might think we're a little cuckoo, right? But I think it's great. I'm like, look at us bouncing back. So I think we can model that, being the owner of all our emotions can look differently. It can look zen and peaceful, and I'm going to ride the wave, or it can look a little crazy. It's all going to be fine.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying that I have a perfect life and it's zen. I'm just saying that I just started to own my own emotions, and like it was an awful lot of huge hard work, really difficult and really messy for a good number of years. But I suppose out of that, because it was totally, kind of trying to work through that kind of process, kind of the diamond in the rough that we talk about, Lisa. It is a difficult stage to change that kind of mentality, and it takes a while, and it takes practice, and it takes all that. And it's never perfect, but it's just, I suppose, it's an ongoing daily, a daily thing, and having to try and like that, just to be committed to it, I guess, committed to trying to do a little bit better each day, and then to forgive yourself when you mess up, to just not be too hard on yourself,
And I think what you're talking about is, you're both talking about emotional responsibility, right?
Yes.
Because as a mum, we are taught to be responsible for everybody else's emotions. And as we start to move into the emerging process, which is much more free and much more empowering, we actually stop taking feeling responsibility for people, and we start taking feeling responsibility for ourselves. So for me, that might mean that I do need to leave the room, or I do need to take some time. In fact, generally, if I have a feeling, I'm trying always to pay attention to that, so that I'm not because often it can come out quite in conflict, right? So we want to be able to allow our feelings and own our feelings enough that we can just, like you're saying, Erin, just let them out, but without it being conflict, or without it hurting other people, or without it creating disconnection in our relationship. Because often, if we're not fully emotionally responsible, what we create every time we have these moments is disconnection. And that is like really anathema, is it, to our daughter-mother relationship? Because we want to be so connected with them, because that's the only way that we can actually, help our daughters and guide our daughters, is if she's willing to listen to us, and she's not going to be influenced by us at all unless our relationship is so deeply connected and we have this lovely trust about us. And it's challenging to get to that place if we can't be responsible for our feelings. And even if we can't let go of being, the mother role of making sure all of her feelings are okay, because we really can't change somebody else's feelings. It's inside their body. We have to let them have their feelings. We can support them, but it's our capacity to sit there and allow them to have those feelings that creates the connection.
Capacity. Yes. Can you increase your capacity to sit with another person's emotions? That's the only thing we need to work on. That's so hard. That's so good, Lisa. Yeah. Increase your capacity to sit with the negative emotions, and your life will change for the better.
Yeah.
That's it. And actually, it's funny. I was just thinking to Erin, what you're saying about the Zen thing. Actually, it was the opposite for me, because before, when I was doing the kind of perfectionist moment, I was trying to keep everything like that, calm and everything. And the opposite was now that I learned to embrace like an argument, to realize that sometimes it's really important to have an argument, to be able to have an argument.
Yes.
That's what I had to learn. Like, it's okay to have an argument, because you need to be able to talk about things. You need to be able to discuss things. You need to bring it up, and you need to be able to have, air these things, talk about issues that were, where before it was the opposite. It was more like I was trying to keep everything down and keep everything, keep everything quiet, and keep everything, and then it was, my growth was more kind of, let it all happen, let it come up, let it all, it's not that it's the opposite, actually. So it's probably more fiery now than it was, in a lot of ways, but it's, you know what I mean? It's more of a real relation, true relationship. Yeah.
There's a fire, I suppose, that doesn't burn other people,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just like a kind of, you can let them have their outbursts. You can say what you feel, but you're not affected by it, and you're not projecting your own kind of insecurities or whatever onto them, so a different type of quality of
that's motive, isn't it? Right. So when my motive comes from knowing myself and my heart and being true to myself, then I'm not creating disconnection in the relationship. I'm not using words that cut the energy and split me from another person. When my motive is coming from an unconscious, unmet emotional need, I'm actually trying to control that person, or I'm blaming them, or I'm making them responsible for my well-being, or I'm making them responsible for how I feel. So that motive is a result of how well you consider yourself and you know yourself and you take emotional responsibility. Because it's really, once again, did we say this earlier? It's not what we do. It's not whether or not we yell or not yell. It's the motive that we're coming from. Because when I'm in my center, I can do all of that. I can have all that conflict. But because I'm not coming from a place of creating division, I'm actually creating more harmony and I'm creating more connection, even though I'm in a conflict situation.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
I like this. Like, you two can speak and I'll just do a summary at the end. It's like,
yeah, no,
this is what was said.
So good.
Yeah, exactly. This is what
Donna Marie. Donna Marie says she's loving this conversation. I'm so glad, Donna Marie.
Gorgeous.
Hi, Donna Marie.
Yeah, it's great to have your company. We love your input.
Oh. Yeah, it's quite interesting. But sometimes what I think is such a paradox is that we do see it as being so challenging to move into this space where we own our feelings and where we can come into our center and actually find our own feminine force field. But in truth, it is so much easier and so much simpler and so much more free. And yet we resist it, we deny it, we run away from it. And truly, I fully believe, and I could be wrong, but I fully believe that this is the only solution that mothers have in a 21st century world. Because
write that down, everybody. Write that down.
I put it on a t-shirt.
I always say, like, whoever thought doing this so much work on myself would actually be the thing that would free myself, because actually I'm not doing any work on you. So whoever thought keeping my side of the street clean would actually give me ultimate freedom, and luckily it does. So if you're out there wanting to do the work on yourself, it's so worth it. That's where true freedom lies, true freedom.
Yeah, and the thought of doing it is always worse than the doing of it. I mean, like you have a few moments where you're like, oh my God, I just can't keep doing this. But like those moments are quite rare, like when you're actually doing it and you know what to do, right? Also, like, Carolyn and I are really looking forward to giving mums the actual keys. You just do these steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that brings you back into this, like, there are really easy steps to do your work. And if you just apply it, then you get there. It's very simple.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was, for me, was what I think about, it was letting go. And I think about how much control that I wanted on. I think, Erin, we talked about before, underneath perfectionism is control, isn't it? You try to control everything and everyone and everyone's emotions and everything, And so you're just like, the liberation is then just like letting go. And then what emerges from that, like what comes from that is like, just like amazing, your purpose can just emerge from that, because
and
once
intuitive solutions.
I was going to say confidence, but what I meant was intuitive solutions, like Lisa said.
No, but what did come from that? Your confidence
is what confidence is. Intuitive solutions, problem solving, confiding in yourself is confidence. I love that, Lisa, because that is what raised the girl that could say, put me in any environment and I will thrive, which is ultimately the definition of confidence in adulthood. Like, I can figure things out is the definition of confidence. And so, she didn't get there by not seeing me do the work. She got there because I did the work in front of her,
Exactly. That's key. That is it.
Absolutely.
That is actually exactly what we were trying to do with the Diamond Mother Ring. That's the whole concept, because when mothers actually do their work, and it's messy, it's difficult, and it's trial and error. It's kind of trying to create this new this true version of yourself. But they're watching, because they're not listening to you, but they're going to watch. They're watching every single thing that you do, and they're learning all the time from what you're modeling. You're super modeling.
You're super modeling. That's right.
Yeah.
I like that.
You're super modeling the way that they should be.
Yeah.
Tyra Banks, get us on your podcast, okay? Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's great.
What was I going to say?
Take the super highway to the supermodel.
Also, just speaking as a child psychologist that I was for many years, actually I was a child psychologist, and you got to remind yourself that we're 47, 46, and I don't know how old Lisa is, but
ageless.
You're not going to have this figured out at 10. And the 10-year-old's job is to be a 10-year-old, which is awful in many regards, because about 10 is when girls lose their way, right? Because the culture has their way with them, and it just gets messy. And that's, we know, like, and so as we look at our teenage daughters and they're grappling with their identity, we can just say, they are just totally knocking this out of the park. They are doing their job. I'm 47. If I don't have a sense of who I am by now, and with all the work I've done, I hope I know a little bit, right? But they're just doing their job, which is figuring out their identity. And so if you can just look at them from that viewpoint of they're really being a great 13-year-old, doing their job of what it means to be a 13-year-old. Yep, got it. Yeah. And it's different developmentally at every age. And so I hope that helps relieve some of that pressure too, of they're just doing what teenagers do, in the sense of it's actually a great thing developmentally.
Yeah.
But again, so, it requires sitting with some of that suffering, you know.
So Erin, I'm aware maybe we might talk for 5 more minutes, but I would love if you could maybe give some, like, I'm just thinking you must have had a very broad experience with teenagers and children and mums, and it would be lovely, and even in the health and fitness, because maybe you can share about that as well. If you were a mum of a teenage daughter who's standing there hating her body, what would you say? Like, you know, a few practical tips of, like, what would you say that would really help that mum? Something that maybe we haven't quite covered yet, you know, like, I don't know, we've covered almost so many amazing things, haven't we? But, you know, there must be beautiful little tips that you've picked up along the way.
Oh, I would love to share, and love to hear from you ladies too about this idea. But I'm just ultimately a fan of validating people's feelings. It's the therapist in me. So I would say, first and foremost, just know that whatever you can't have will just get bigger. And so if you can't sit with when your daughter says, I hate my body, I hate my body, I hate my body, why can't I be made like that? And why can't I look like my sister like that? And blah. If you say, oh no, that's not true, and why do you think that? And, oh my gosh, that's not going to create connection. So the first thing we all need to know as human beings is basically our only need is to be seen. Okay? So if we can be seen, much healing can happen. So I would just recommend what I call the lean in. I think I talked to Caroline about this before, but practice leaning in, because everything in your body is going to want to, like, no, that's not true. You're beautiful. And blah, blah, blah. You think they're going to want to come to you if they, you know, next time they feel like that? Maybe not. Even though your intention is to smother them in goodness, what if you say, oh my gosh, tell me more. Oh, really? You don't? What is it you don't like about your body? Oh, got it. What? Tell me how that makes you feel. And then pivot to, well, what can we do when we're feeling super sad? Like, what are some ways we could actually, got it. So you're feeling really sad. So your job is to lean in, help them name the feeling, emotional labeling. Oh, I'm sad. Oh, got it. Oh, I'm anxious. Okay, got it. These are informational signals of what we can do next. Okay, what could I do when I'm feeling sad? Oh, I could go take a bath and listen to Adele. Okay, great. What would you like to do when you're sad? You know, like, and you learn how to self-soothe and be a human. And research shows that will actually make the pain go away way faster than, that is not true. You're So if you just get better at sitting with their suffering and excavating, tell me more about that, and show them I can handle this. Because if you can't handle it, then they can't handle it. And that can cause to abandoning oneself and doing self-destructive behaviors. Your job, I think, is to model, we can show up for this. We can show up for this.
Yeah.
Because then they feel fully accepted, right? It's like, you know, however they're appearing in this moment, and that was so brilliant, Erin. I love it, because
amazing.
You know, like, it doesn't matter how much you know, you hear someone speak these fantastic words, and it just, like, takes it deeper into your own embodiment. It's just fantastic. And for me, it's that complete acceptance of, like, and she might say things that are against your values. And that's been my biggest challenge, is that the things that are being done and said are completely opposite to my values and how I would deal with things. And so for me, it's like, okay, I just have to really accept that that's who she is in this moment. And I've got to be with her here, and if she wants to go and do that, even though I know that it's, well, I shouldn't say I know, but I probably do from my experience know that that's not going to get her the result she wants. I still have to accept that right here and now. I'm going to be with her in this moment. I'm going to allow her journey, because this is her journey. And who am I to say maybe she needs to do that for her growth, and what you're saying is right. It's just the acceptance right now in the moment of who she is and how she's turning up, and being with them in that space. And that is a practice.
Yeah.
Let's like create a motherhood where we're like, did you show up for the crap? Me too. I showed up for the crap. Oh my gosh. Like, let's relegate that. Let's
yes.
that up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Rather than the perfect child that gets wonderful grades or does whatever they do. I absolutely agree. Agree.
That's exactly it. And I absolutely love what you said about that, because in that moment, what you're explaining there is what we do to ourselves. An emotion comes up and we completely deny it.
Yes.
We say, that's not happening. This is not happening. We'll push back down.
I don't like this. I don't want this. I can't handle this. I don't know what this
I can't let it.
Yep.
Put it down, or we drink, or we do whatever we do to soothe it, like you said. And it's just like, it's pushing down. So it's like, when that's the trigger, that you can see the pattern in yourself, so like when that eruption happens, or that kind of situation happens, that they're not happy with their body, whatever, watch yourself. How do you feel? You feel scared. You feel like, okay, here we go. I can feel the pattern coming up. I want to deny this as my reality that's actually happening in front of my eyes. I want to deny that, and I want to kind of pretend it's not happening, and I push it down, push it away. And then a teenager doesn't have anywhere to go. There's no safety there then, because where are they going to voice that? And then they start denying it to themselves and questioning, was it real? Is it not? And that's adding to this noise of not even knowing themselves,
Yeah.
So it's just,
and if any of you listening have done this, just give yourself lots of grace and say, oh, like Maya Angelou says, when I know better, I can do better. And so I'm so glad I heard these three ladies, and I can practice a new way. So much self-compassion on the mothers that are listening.
Yeah.
That are like, oh gosh, I'm doing everything they're saying not to do. Just much compassion. Yeah. And that's what it needs, complete all that self-care, because you have to, it's the becoming aware of it is the really hard part. I remember when I started becoming aware of the patterns, I was like, oh my God almighty, it's not nice. But you have to just say, okay, well, at least I'm aware now. I can do something about it because I'm aware. Before I had no awareness whatsoever, had no clue. So you're starting to change, you're starting to start the redesign of how you can show up for yourself, really, isn't it?
It does, because it releases the inner tension, doesn't it? Like, for me, it was about seeing that it was actually, a lot of it was about activating my own feelings about myself when I was a teenager. It was like my inner teenager was being constantly activated, and I was operating through that, trying to connect with my teenager, so it's that awareness that while you think it's about them, it's actually activating something in you that perhaps you didn't digest properly when you were her same age, so, and that brings relief, right? If you can sit with that, it's like there's an ease that comes. So that's lovely. That's really lovely. Oh, this has been such a juicy conversation. So juicy. I know. So I'm aware that we've had beautiful time together, and Erin, I just would like to invite you in the last couple of minutes, if you want to share something about how you're supporting mums. We would be really grateful to hear that.
You broke up a second. If I could share something, what?
Oh, yeah. So I was just going to say, in the last couple of minutes, it would be lovely if you wanted to share something about how you're supporting mums. We would be grateful to hear that.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I work with many, many women who happen to be moms, right? in business coaching and high performance coaching and taking care of their bodies. And what I've realized is when you empower a woman to take care of herself, everything else is better taken care of. And so my family knows, like, I come first in the way of I am totally responsible for taking care of myself in a way that they never resent. And I think that I help women understand that, oh, look at me being a great mom by taking care of my body. Look at me being a great mom by tending to my marriage. Look at me being a great mom by working on the stuff. Look at me being a great mom by insert whatever, that they're really linked. And I mean, I will tell myself that when I go to the gym. Look at me being a great mom, getting on the treadmill. I tie everything, I try to tie everything I do to my identity of what I really value. And it ends up being experienced a lot of the time in the world as that. And I think this whole culture of selflessness, let's get mothers and women to not like to be selfless. Well, that's a dysfunctional way to live, my friends. That is where pathology comes in psychology. When you lose yourself, all pathology enters the door. I've never said that before. That's a powerful statement.
That is really
that is sickness when you lose yourself. So
yeah.
What I'll end with this. If you Google Oprah and Jan Levinsat on self-care, there's 3 minutes of, oh my God, she blew my mind. Iyanla says, we think it's so beautiful to be, selfless. And she's like, really? She goes, that's selfish. She says, what's in the cup is yours. What comes out of the cup is for you. And we've got to change this narrative. Like, I don't have anything to give if I'm not overflowing. And so really helping empower women just understand that it's pretty selfish if you don't care about yourself. Let's change that whole vernacular.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. That's beautiful. I love it.
Can I just say one thing? I'm just after noticing when you were saying that. Can we see your necklace? It's like the diamond in the middle there, the diamond heart.
I know.
And that's what you found your diamond heart.
I just got this for my new brand, and I was like, whoa. And I know. I wore it. I know.
And when you're talking about that, it's just that's what it is, like coming back here, isn't it? Coming back to your heart, to your own, and then shining from there. That's the opposite of what you're saying. And like you are completely, that's why I said you have to put your sunglasses on for Dr. Erin because she's so dazzling.
Ladies, this was so amazing.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's such a great, in Australia, this is like, it's 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm just like, yes, what a way to start my day.
Oh, it's wonderful, Lisa.
Well, thank you both very much. Really grateful. And thank you, viewers, for coming along and enjoying this conversation with us.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
There's a book and programs in here. Okay, Donna Marie.